Welcome to the Laws of Publishing, the editing process. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about editing. The last couple times we spoke about why every professional thought leader needs a nonfiction book. So you can go back and watch those webinars about why everybody needs one. The bottom line is, why just be an expert when you could be the resource, the authority on the subject? That's basically what it comes down to, and a few other things. So that's a very good episode. Then we talked about outlining and drafting. And today we're going to talk about the process of editing. And just to recap, writing is rewriting. A lot of people don't realize when you read something and it sounds polished, a lot of times people don't realize what goes into it. Some people can just sit and write. Others have to use professional writers, can just do get the idea. Some professional writers have to use ghostwriters, believe it or not. And then there's several levels of the editing process. Some people can just sit and write and it comes out really well. Some writers can just sit and write and it comes out excellent. Other writers have to go through several drafts. And when I say several drafts, I don't just mean 3. It could be 17 drafts, it could be 100 drafts. So it depends what you're writing. Not everything has to go through that many iterations, but writing is rewriting. That's what I want you to know. And sometimes there's no such thing as perfection. Sometimes it's good enough. Did you manage to tell your story? Did you make your point? And then it's time to move on. Very, very, very important. So today, no matter how many drafts you go to, at one point you say, I am finished. So sometimes, a lot of times people come to me for a manuscript review when they're like, I've done what I can do. I'm ready for the next phase. So then when they've done with their manuscript, that's usually when they come to me, and then we do a manuscript review and we figure out, okay, who's your audience? Where does this fit in the marketplace? Because even though for some business people, even though the book is, let's say, a sophisticated business card, it has to work as a standalone book at a bookstore, for example. So it has to meet industry standards. And that's where someone like me comes in and I come in to make sure that happens. So we figure out, how clear is your story? Does it need editing? Where is it in the scale? Because I've had people come to me and say, my book is ready, it just needs a little editing, when in fact it needs ghostwriting, which is perfectly fine if you allow the time, not when the person says, we can do it in a week, when that's not possible. So anyway, with a little time, anything is possible, and understanding what the manuscript actually needs, because what's really important is to make the best work possible. And you have to understand that you don't know what you don't know, which is why we all need help and we all seek out professionals and experts in the field. Like the people I work with, the professionals and thought leaders and founders, they're the experts in their field, whether it's law, tech, you name it. So they don't know about publishing. So they need somebody like me to fill in those gaps. Just like when I need legal help, I go to a professional who can fill in the gaps, because there's a lot about that, obviously, that I don't know. So we all have our areas of expertise, and that's perfectly well. We love to collaborate together. So today we are talking about editing. Let's get started. So what's the problem? You wrote a draft, and now what? So very, very important. We say when you're drafting, forget about editing, let it out. And if you heard me speak before, I like to speak about something called the pre-draft, which I suggest, especially if you're doing a memoir, you write it longhand, right? That's your therapeutic draft. It's for you. Once you commit it to a Word doc, even better yet, a Google Doc, you could always upload it, it doesn't matter. Once you commit it to a computer, when you want that to be a book that you're going to share with the world, it is no longer yours. It is for the reader. Now, you are going to naturally, that transcription process Sure, you could take a picture and have a computer do it. However, when you do it, because like I've said many, many times before, anyone can go to the AI and say, you have a funeral home, right? Anyone can go and write a book about the art of undertaking or the art of providing funeral services. Sure, but that's not interesting. What is interesting is that person's relationship. Why did they get into that business? What is it about that, the connection with the people experiencing loss that fulfills them? Those stories, that's what makes that interesting, right? And that applies to every business. Those human stories, the human element, that's what's interesting. So whenever you take your pre-draft and you transcribe it onto a computer, it's going to go through a natural refinement. So you're going to remember more things. You're going to be like, oh yes, and I remember that. So naturally, it's going to go through its first level of editing. So that computer one, that becomes your first draft. Now, you can still work on it some more. And then when you feel like, okay, I've done as much as you can do, now it's when it's ready for an editor or someone like me, a book coach, that will guide you to what happens next. So you wrote your draft, and now what? You don't know where to start with editing. You're afraid, what if the editing changes your voice? What if you can't tell what's good and what needs fixing? And how can you tell when your manuscript is done? All valid, very important, and normal problems to have. So what's the solution? To edit with confidence. There are 4 types of editing passes that we'll cover today. Protect your voice while improving your prose. Use readers strategically. And how to reach done with a polished manuscript. That's what we're going to talk about today. And today, since this is the laws of publishing, we're going to talk about the law of refinement. Your first draft is telling yourself the story. Your final draft is you sharing it with the world. The difference is the editing. So these are the industry terms for these things. Dev edit, or developmental editing, which is the big picture, the structure, the flow, the argument. So obviously this is a little different when we're talking about fiction versus nonfiction. And even if you're doing a nonfiction book, we still can follow a story arc, and that's a lot of what I cover with the manuscript review. Very, very important. So does it flow? Do the arguments make sense? That's, the big picture, the arc of the book. Then we go into the structural edit. So this is the chapter order. Does, like in a story, sometimes we start with the end, right? Sometimes we go in chronological order. So what is the chapter order? What is the pacing? How are we handling the transitions? Then it's the line edit. So this is sentence clarity, the rhythm, and the word choice. And then final is what we would call copy edit, or the proofread. Grammar, punctuation, final polish. You also want to decide what rules you're following. So because everyone is a writer, I know that Kyle Savage is here. Not only is he a dear friend, Kyle Savage teaches public speaking. And he always says that no matter who you are a public speaker, because we all have to speak at work, everywhere we go, we have to speak. So we're all public speakers. In the same sense, we're all writers. Here we're talking in the context of writing a book. However, this grammar and punctuation is useful for everything, especially now that with texting, we've all become a lot more casual in our writing and we take a lot of shortcuts. So what I suggest all my clients is we follow the Chicago Manual for Style. That's what we do for publishing. It's available. It's not hard to follow those style rules. And I say, write like that. I tell everybody I coach, just write like that from the beginning. It's going to make everybody's job easier. And why not? It's going to help you and everybody out. So that's one of the things I say from the beginning. Now, when you're doing your hand drafting, that's not the time to be doing that. That's just, you get your stories out, you're brainstorming out. But once you are transcribing, that's when you want to start following those rules. And if you don't know, doesn't matter, look it up and you will remember. That's okay. I know a lot of us went to school a long time ago, but we're students of the world, and we constantly learn, and we can constantly refresh and remember what we've forgotten. Okay, so now your reader editors. There's different types of readers, and I want to clue you into who they are. So your alpha readers are your trusted insiders who see your, the first look. They're the first people who read your book. Now, these people may be close to you. That may or may not be a good idea, because chances are they're going to be yes men. They're going to tell you, you're great. And they may not be the target audience for your reader. So as a book coach, and I came from the film world, and even in music, I grew up with music in South Beach, in the club scene, promoting and running events, and in PR and marketing. And I remember being very, very clear, always, even from a very young age, being able to differentiate whether something was good and whether or not I was the target market. And one of the examples I give was I remember when Eminem came out. And yes, some of the songs are good, but I remember thinking oh, this is good. I'm not the target market. I'm not his audience. However, I appreciate how good this is. Even though I don't want to date myself, but I came back. I was around before hip hop was called hip hop, and it had another name. So I was a fan of Public Enemy and some other people. But anyway, I remember when Eminem came out and thinking wow, I'm so glad this guy gets to express himself with his music. And hence, I love people expressing themselves, and that's a big part of the why in my business. So in the manuscript review, and part of what I provide for my people is figuring out who is the reader for your book. It may not be your friends and family. So we have to be very, very, very careful. Now, we are going to absolutely deploy your friends and family, because the Amazon algorithm, especially for a book like this, a nonfiction book, is we want to get close to 50 reviews as soon as possible. And there's many launch strategies that we will talk about at a later webinar, but that's part of it. So you want to be thinking, who are your 50 friends and family that will be your ARC, advanced reader copy readers, who can help you get to your 50 reviews. But that is different than your alpha readers. So as a publisher and as an industry professional, I have access to alpha readers, I have access to reports, I have proprietary software, I have access to a lot of these things where I'm able to figure out, what book is it? What are the categories? Who exactly is the right? And sometimes I have to do a lot of I try one thing, okay, what are the ratings? I have to try another one. So it's part of the fun of the puzzle, figuring out who is the best reader for the particular book. So anyway, alpha readers are the best readers, and you don't want to make the mistake of giving it to the wrong reader. So you have to figure out who is the reader. Now, if you are a professional and you already have clientele, then this is much easier, because they're your clients. So you understand who your alpha readers is, which is going to make this much easier. So, this becomes proof of concept. Now, another thing I talk to my clients about, my book clients about, is what is the vision? And we're going to talk this about later webinars, but I want to seed it here. What is the business model for this book? Because you are the asset. I remember long time ago, I thought, oh, it's not about me, which is important. The reader is the hero. But I thought, just read the book. And no, we all need each other to collaborate. And some people can not hear it from everybody. So I understand that now. So the book is an extension of us. It's one of the products it's one of the things we do. It's not the thing. So the book, how does it fit into your overall plan? So for example, Kyle, since he's here on the call, he's a public speaker. His book, The Art of Being Everything, is a great thing for him when he does public speaking. It's a negotiation tool for him when he's negotiating his rate. It includes purchasing of his books for the audience. When he does nonprofit stuff, if he volunteers his time, it includes them purchasing the books in lieu of paying him, for example. When he does corporate events, they gave him a speaker fee and buy his books for all the participants. So the book is an integral part of his business. Very, 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 very important, right? So with that in mind, one of the things I suggest is if you already have an audience and a newsletter, fantastic. If not, it's really easy to start one with Substack or in other ways, which I'd be more than happy to help you. Me and my team would be more than happy to help you with that. If you book a consultation, we can easily set that up for you. You can start writing your book through your newsletter. So anyway, so that is one strategy to begin, because then you're writing what your community needs and wants. It takes time to create a book, which is great because you want to build your audience, you want to build excitement around your book so that when it does come out, you've got an eager audience waiting for it. So it begins with your alpha readers. They're going to give you interesting information that's going to be distinct from beta readers. So again, that's one of the things we offer, a beta reader report, an alpha and beta reader report. So alpha means first, beta, which is secondary. So a lot of times you'll get your alpha reader report. You'll apply some of the feedback that makes sense for your book. Then later on, once maybe you go through some editing, you'll apply the comments that make sense. Then you'll do the next level of readers, which is your beta readers. So this is really your target audience, members who mirror your ideal reader. And then again, what feedback did you achieve? Like whatever wasn't clear to your alpha readers, did you clear? So our reports give you a score. By each chapter, what is the takeaway that you wanted? Did you want them to be inspired? Did you want them to be motivated? What is the feeling? We can rate that. It's a very, very interesting and useful process. Then there's sensitivity readers. So depending what your topic is, it depends what we want to talk about. Like, is your topic about somebody with a disability, some kind of representation? Like for example, I know someone who's writing a book for helping children with autism, for example. Now she's a therapist and that's her clients. So she may not need the sensitivity readers, but if someone who's writing a book about their experience of maybe their sibling in that may want to get more perspectives on it, Same thing, this comes with a friend of mine who's writing a fiction book who has, a character of a different race from South America. So she wanted me to read it because I'm from Chile. So she wanted me to read it to just make sure she didn't, make any glaring errors, and she got it right. So anyway, so that's called sensitivity readers, and there's a whole art form for that. And you may know this from film. There's intimacy coordinators. Like for example, like right now, the big hit in the last year was Heated Rivalry, right? So they had, for the sexual scenes, they needed intimacy coordinators. So it's very, very similar. So obviously this is different with fiction versus nonfiction, but it's really, really important depending on the topic of your book. And then the key rule is Yes, receive all feedback before deciding what to accept. And again, as the author, you are the captain of the ship. What we say in film is you're going to take the good ideas where they come. Doesn't matter who it is. If it's a driver, craft service person, it's not always the professionals that have the good ideas. Just like you're not going to take the bad ideas, even if they come from the most experienced people, right? Just with everything, there's a spectrum of options. You can do it yourself and you can get professional help. The DIY is great. It could be good for any step of the way if you understand how to do it. And this is a great use of AI if you understand how to prompt. And of course, that's one of the things we go through in my author community, right? The Luminary Society of New Authors and the BBB, the Book Business Blueprint. That's something we talk about in that resource and course, and something we talk about. So, there's many ways to do it, and now what's just great, you can even ask the AI is, how do I prompt to do a developmental edit for a book? So we don't need to spend our time doing that here. There's many, many resources, and it's available through my community as well. Now, professional. It's worth it for copy editing and proofreading. Yeah, so developmental, definitely for nonfiction. It depends how strongly you feel. But in nonfiction, I just want to say, the outline takes care of it. So, and I guess that's where a book coach like me comes in handy to make sure it makes sense. Or if it's a framework, if you're doing a framework that you teach your clients or your patients, then you've already got it. Then it's pretty straightforward. Now, what do these things cost? It depends on the word count, and it depends on the experience of the editor. So it could be anywhere between 500 and 5,000. It varies. And the ROI, a clean manuscript earns more reviews and recommendations. So you want to create the best product possible within your budget, always. So these are your action steps. Complete a chapter audit if your manuscript is finished. Identify 3 potential beta readers, people that are your ideal target market for your book. And I'm going to share some resources that we'll go over right now. So download the editing checklist and write 1 paragraph about what your book needs most. So if you're ready to polish your manuscript, join the author community or write your finished book. So if you're ready to join us, please do so. Now, if you're not sure where to begin, you can request a book consultation. This is if you've written a poetry book, a children's book, or if you don't know where to begin, we can figure it out and get you started. If your manuscript is finished, this is the manuscript review. There are 2 tracks depending on your level of distribution. If it's only for limited distribution, meaning local, let's say for a group, a community or a specific group, let's say your bowling league or something, something very specific, then this is all you need. Now, if it's for national or international, worldwide distribution, you need the complete package. But I broke it down into 2 steps in case people need to take it easy. The complete package includes all of this. This includes 3 months of our community. This includes 2 months. This includes 1 month. This includes group coaching, and this includes some one-on-one coaching with me. So you could see what that's all about. And then our author community, the Luminary Society of New Authors, is really cool. It all includes all the resources, the BBB, the Book Business Blueprint. And the difference is how you like to be coached. It's self-directed, done with you, or one-on-one VIP access. That's the difference. So these are monthly, and that's all it is. Let's go back. Any questions So next
I have a
time,
question.
yes?
It's not really a question. We were talking about it before, and I raised my hand, and I just wanted to kind of piggyback with what you're saying. So when Macarena was mentioning how the book kind of is a vessel to get you more clients, I just landed but 2 weeks ago, I delivered a keynote speech at a business conference for 200 people. And the woman who booked me, Alexandra Silva Labar, she's a very established author and entrepreneur. We had never met in person, but I had sent her my author website. She did research on my book. She read parts of my book, and that book is what landed me that keynote slot. It's because she aligned with my messaging. She aligned with what I was talking about in that book. If I didn't have that book, I wouldn't have been booked to give that keynote speech. And so it very much, just to do like a little testimonial about what Macarena is saying, it very much does work.
Excellent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So next time, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it. So next time we'll be talking about building the reader newsletter. I always say is build it early, build it early. Absolutely. So build as you go. So thank you very much. And if that's it, we shall wrap it up. Thank you. Thank you. See you next time.